Hello, my name is Meiju. Welcome to watch a complete tutorial on how to finish a V-neck. I have a sweater here that is going to be a summer tee with short sleeves, and I have a V-neck here that I want to finish with a ribbing. And this is the same V-neck that I'm using for my Syringa sweater. I will put the photo in this video for you to see. And you can of course use this finishing style for any V-neck that you want. So I'm going to show you the complete guide how to pick up stitches and how to make the V-neck decreases in the center of the piece. So let's begin. With this V-neck I'm starting to pick up stitches from the middle front. It can be of course started from other place too, but since I want to V-neck ribbing to be symmetrical on both sides, that's why I start from here. So I start picking up stitches. I'm going to pick one center stitch, so this will be the middle front center stitch, and then I try to pick up stitches by picking up 4 stitches on every 4 rows. So if you have watched my pickup video from my YouTube channel where I explained that I never work edge stitches, slip edge stitches before, because I want to have enough rows from where to pick up stitches. So here I have just knit and purl the edge stitches normally. Okay, I'm starting to pick, I'm inserting the needle and just picking up the stitch and knitting from there. 1, 2, 3. Yes, now I have picked 3 stitches. I'm skipping 1 stitch, then continuing, or 1 row actually. I'm skipping 1 row. And here I go. I'm going through the round, and then I'm going to count if I have enough stitches, the number that the pattern says. I'm going to pick up the whole round, and then I'm going to back to show you what I'm going to do next. Okay, now I have picked up all stitches through the whole round to the whole neck opening, and I have also used markers just to make sure that I have picked the right number of stitches from each section as the pattern says. And now the next round, this is something that I usually use in my designs, is that I purl the next round just to make sure that the pickup seam will be cleaner, and it makes nice effect with the ribbing when there is one purl round dividing the stockinette stitch and the ribbing. And as you can see, even if I haven't made any edge stitches, the edge is really clean from the pickup side and also from the purl side or the front side. The other edge is always slightly sloppier than the other when you don't make those edge stitches. It's because of the tension between the purl and knit stitches in the beginning, but when you pick up those stitches, the pickup edge is still clean. It doesn't show even though the other edge is slightly sloppier. Okay, now I purl purl the next round and making sure that I'm using the working yarn and not the short end that I have. I'm tightening the short end slightly, and of course I have to tighten it when I weave the ends too, but just to make sure that... Oh, and one thing that I forgot was to put a marker to mark the beginning of the round. So I have one center stitch here, and it will be the first stitch of the round, the one that I picked up from the center. Now I'm purling one round, and after I have made the purl round, we'll continue again, and I will show what happens next. Okay, now I'm reaching the end of round, and what starts next is the ribbing. So I just start normal knit 1, purl 1 ribbing after the purl round, so there will be no decreases on the first round, but we'll come to the decreasing at the center of the v-neck at the end of the round. So I will continue working the ribbing until the end of the round. So I will knit 1, purl 1, and then we'll see what happens next. We'll start to shaping the v-neck. Okay, now I have reached almost the end, so I'm one stitch before the end, and I'm going to make the first decrease at the center stitch. So what I first have to do is to remove the marker. Now I can see that the sun is going to disturb me and it affects to the lighting, to the light, so I have to adjust a bit. Okay, now it's better. So the marker was here, and I have placed this stitch back to the needle, and this is my center stitch, this one. So I'm going to make centered decrease over 3 stitches. So I'm going to slip these 2 stitches together as if to knit. Then I'm going to knit 1, purl this one because it's a purl stitch now. And then I'm going to pass these 2 slipped stitches over the stitch that I just purled. It can be knit also, it doesn't actually show there. Then I'm going to just continue ribbing. I have the knit stitch here first, so I have to see which stitch I have here. This is my purl edge stitch. And then I'm going to continue ribbing to 1 stitch before the center stitch. I don't need the marker anymore because while I'm continuing the decreases, the center stitch becomes more visible. So I don't need that marker anymore that much. So I'm going to continue ribbing to the center stitch. And before that we could look how my edge is looking at the moment. So I have made the purl ridge there, and then the ribbing, and it will become more evident after working the ribbing a few more rounds. I will come back when I have reached the center stitch. Okay, now I'm at the center stitch, so I have reached the center. So this is my center stitch, and we do the same decrease again. So I will slip 2 stitches in which the middle one is the center stitch. Knitwise I will knit the next stitch, slip these 2 stitches over. And this is how I continue from row by row. Now that I have purl stitch here first, I will continue with purl stitch the ribbing. So I will work the ribbing by knitting the knit stitches, purling the purl stitches, always 1 stitch before the center stitch, and then I will work the decrease. So now I get, this is how I get centered V-neck. And I will work all the rounds until I have the given length, and I will show you the bind off. I'm going to work an Italian bind off or tubular bind off, and I am going to also show you how to make a clean finish with the Italian bind off, since we have the starting point with the center stitch, so it needs to also have a clean finish in there. I will come back after I have worked the whole neck ribbing. Okay, now I have worked the ribbing to the length that I wanted it to be. So it's approximately 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters. And then I have worked the last row to the center stitch and made sure that I have a row in which I have a purl stitch next to the center stitch, so that I'm able to work tubular or Italian bind off, which I'm starting with knit stitch here. If you want to use, if you want to watch my tutorial on tubular or Italian bind off, in which I use bulkier and lighter yarn, which is more visible to see than this yarn that I'm using in this V-neck, I will put the link to this video below this, to that video below this video. So first I'm putting a marker to the first stitch. Then I'm also putting a locking marker to the next purl stitch. And I'm now starting to tubular bind off. So I'm first going to the first knit stitch knitwise, slipping the needle off, and then I'm going to the, skipping the purl stitch, I'm going to knitwise to the next, purlwise to the next knit stitch. And then I'm pulling the yarn that I should have here with this Italian cast on is approximately 4 times to the length, the circumference of this neck. And now at this point I'm pulling this yarn quite tight, so I'm making sure that there will be no gap here between the last stitch of the row and the first stitch of the row. Then, so I'm keeping the yarn with my thumb here. Then I'm going purlwise to the next purl stitch, slipping it off, and then going behind the knit stitch, so I'm skipping the knit stitch, I'm going knitwise to the next purl stitch. I'm recommending using a blunt needle so it's easier to thread it through the stitches. And now that we have get rid of those first 2 stitches, I'm starting to repeat, which is repeated throughout the round until we are here at the end. So knitwise to the knit stitch, slip off, purlwise to the next knit stitch, pull the yarn through, here at the beginning you have to handle a little bit with this needle, then purlwise to the purl stitch, slip off, and then knitwise to the next purl stitch, skipping the knit stitch. That's the repeat. Knitwise to the knit stitch, slip off, purlwise to the next knit stitch, pull the yarn through, purlwise to the purl stitch, slip off, knitwise to the next purl stitch from the back, and this is repeated until the end, until you have 2 stitches left here at the needle, and I'm going to show you what happens here at the end and how we will finish this to make a clean, nice edging. So I'm repeating this a few more times. Knitwise to the knit stitch, slip off, purlwise to the next knit stitch, pull the yarn through, purlwise to the purl stitch, slip off, skip the knit stitch, go knitwise to the purl stitch, pull the yarn through, knitwise to the knit stitch, purlwise to the next knit stitch, purlwise to the purl stitch, knitwise to the next purl stitch. Okay, now I have reached the end of this work. I have 2 stitches left here. So next I'm going to slide my circular needle in a way that I can put these 2 waiting stitches on holder. And now, as you can see, we have this yarn that was the working yarn, which I first put through this stitch. I have to look that it's going to the back when I'm picking up the stitch here. I can remove this marker. Then I'm putting this stitch also to the needle and removing the marker. Then I'm pulling the needle through and doing the final repeat. So as I have 4 stitches here on my needle, I'm going knitwise to the first knit stitch, slip it off, purlwise to the next knit stitch, tighten it up, and this at this point you can tie it quite tight so the gap closes, purlwise to the purl stitch and knitwise to the next knit stitch. And now you can drop both stitches from the needle, since they are already worked in the beginning. But now, as you can see, we have a little situation here, and now I have to find this center stitch in a way that I'm going to put my needle in the middle of the center stitch and pull wise from the back loop. As you can see, so it closes nicely and looks good. Then I'm going to one more time thread this needle from this loop here so that I can be able to thread the yarn to the back. And now I can weave the ends and it will look just nice. And as you can see, it's looking quite perfect V-neck. Thank you for watching. Happy knitting. Bye.